Hello and welcome to Diego C. Palace. Please hit like and subscribe at Diego C. Palace. Yes, I'm wearing colours in the sort of, that's right, the Crystal Palace women. They are champions of the 24-25 season, and I'm wishing them all the best of luck for the incoming WSL, the Barclays WSL campaign for the 24-25 season, I suppose now. And my well wishes to two persons in particular, which I think they were pivotal for our achievements last season, but also going into the WSL campaign. And that has to be, no particular order. I'm going to start off with Grace Williams. Grace Williams is the head of football at Crystal Palace for the women's structure in place. And as a Crystal Palace fan, I think I've seen a few pointers from last season that I think were monumental and pivotal for the success for the Crystal Palace women to have become the champions of the Barclays Championship Division of 23-24. Now, one point which I think Grace Williams has clearly demonstrated is going to be direct. She delivers with less resources and she delivers big. She has delivered a trophy in that trophy cabinet up there in Chief Parish's office, and I think that's point number one. Point number two, I think what Grace Williams has brought to Crystal Palace since she's been appointed is I think she's put foundations in the structures to enable the Crystal Palace coaching staff and the squad in depth to optimise their potentials. And what do I mean by that is by what the staff that work with Grace Williams, in my opinion, just want to be clear, I don't know anyone at the football club, but the reason why I'm mentioning this is because it has to be said, it has to be mentioned on. Didn't go to all the games. I went to some home and away games last season, and steadily, game by game that I went, I noticed the work that I expect Grace Williams and her staff did at Crystal Palace, in the sense of we had two home matches at Selhurst Park last season. The first one was against Southampton. It was a difficult game for Laura and her coaching staff and for Grace Williams, and it wasn't the result that we got on the day, but I think it was pivotal for the staff playing on the pitch, and also for the staff, as I say, working with and alongside Grace Williams to push the team forward to success, and they became champions. What do I mean by that? I think the mannerism of how numbers have steadily increased of home attendances for the Crystal Palace women, home and away. I think they've steadily crept up. The reception that Crystal Palace FC gave, not just for the Crystal Palace supporters on that day when it was the first time the Crystal Palace women played at Selhurst Park, but it's also how the club received the opponents, which of course was Southampton, the Southampton FC club representing the women's side, their away fans, the families that supporting their players. It was an amazing day. It was a great day afterwards, although we didn't get the result that day. It was good to see the club representatives and the club players greeting the fans at the end of the match, even though it was a tough result for the Crystal Palace on that day. And furthermore, the season ended with Grace Williams attending with her staff against Sunderland on the last day of the season, and to see the staff at Crystal Palace, the players, celebrating, lifting that championship, it was absolute scenes. It's just absolute scenes. So I think what Grace Williams brings to the football club in that aspect is the reception that they give to the opponents, and also to their fans, and also to neutral fans, to encourage more fans to attend, to come and watch the Crystal Palace women. Now, another point which I think is important, what Grace Williams has done, has what I call is like a lighthouse effect, where I think what Grace Williams has done is that she's flicked a switch on, in the sense that basically if there are any, I expect small or for the short term or long term investors that want to look to invest in Crystal Palace women and get together with Crystal Palace, I think what Grace Williams has done by putting the foundations in place from the beginning of last season up to now, to catapult them now into the WSL, the Barclays WSL, I think it's just absolutely brilliant, because now I think if there's any investors in the UK, in Europe or globally, the Crystal Palace women have got their own sponsor. Can't wait to see how that kit for the Crystal Palace women with their own sponsor. So it proves that that light switch is on, what I call a lighthouse, is on right now, and it's going round and is saying to potential investors, and that's down to the work I expect that Grace Williams and her staff have done at Crystal Palace throughout last season and going into the WSL. That light's going to get even brighter, in my opinion. Now, another thing which I want to mention is, I think it's important to say, is that I think another aspect that Grace Williams has brought into the football club is I think it's maybe something when you were represented, I believe it was the Welsh FA back in her earlier career, and I think it's to do with having the connectivity between people that have to make decisions, tough decisions in pre-season, throughout the season, in the transfer windows, to have the connectivity where the players can connect with the fans, but more importantly, I think it's bigger than that. I think it's to do with making sure that the welfare of the professional women football players that are participating. I think it's important to point out that I just got a hunch and a feeling that the work that Grace Williams and her staff have set out from last season onto the WSL now is setting foundations in to enable the welfare of the Crystal Palace women, being when they are participating, playing for Crystal Palace, whether they're in training, whether they are in receiving treatment, because the treatments that they've had so many injured players. It's not just at Crystal Palace; a lot of players get injured. So the welfare of the women's professional game is so important, in my opinion, and I think Grace Williams has an eye on that, and I think I would like to end this with Grace Williams. I think it's important that for all the work and effort that the club does to enhance the persona and the objective to encourage women into women's football, I think that all stems down from the actions from the likes of, in my opinion, of Grace Williams and her staff at Crystal Palace. And to prove it, look at this, Crystal Palace are champions. So there you go. So well done, Grace Williams. Good luck to you and the season. Oh, I nearly forgot. I was talking to this Manchester United fan, and they're always causing trouble, these Manchester United fans. I was having a croissant in Piccadilly a few days ago, and they were talking, and she said that the women's team in Manchester United, they've had to vacate resources and training and things to allow the men to come in there because they're having structural changes. And she said she wouldn't mind at Manchester United, Grace Williams, and I nearly choked on my croissant that morning. I mean, I was just like, it's still there. I mean, it's just, I was like, excuse me. I mean, it's taking the piss and it's taking the bubble, and there's something else, but I'm not going to say it. But I'll tell you something, Manchester United fans, you are not going to poach Grace Williams from Crystal Palace. You try to get Dougie Freeman from up there. You are not going to take Grace Williams from up there. You're not going to take them, because it's just not going to happen. Unbelievable. Manchester United fans, women's fans, oh my days. It's like they're trying to poach Grace Williams now. No, it's not happening. It's not happening. So good luck, Grace Williams, and to all your staff at Crystal Palace for the forthcoming. Well, actually, no, you're in pre-season now, so it's probably a very crucial time for all of you. So all the best of luck in pre-season and in the Barclays WSL campaign. And what do I want in return from, as a Crystal Palace fan, from Grace Williams and their staff? Two things. I'd like to see the Crystal Palace women team survival in the Barclays WSL. And secondly, I'd like to see Grace Williams take Crystal Palace together with Laura Kaminski to Wembley, to a league or a cup final. I'd love to have a day at Wembley supporting the Crystal Palace women. And why? Because they are champions. So there you have it. Good luck, Grace Williams. Now, the second person which I'm going to mention, of course, is the first team coach, manager at Crystal Palace women's team. Of course, is none other than Laura Kaminski. Quick points on Laura Kaminski. Again, being direct on it, Laura Kaminski, for her efforts in the previous season, the pre-season, the season itself, during the transfer window and coming towards the end of the season of 23-24 in the Barclays Championship, she has delivered a silverware, a trophy. There you go. I'm doing it with chest. It's up there in Steve Parish's trophy cabinet. That's right, I said it. And that's down to best in part mostly because of the actions of Laura Kaminski and her entire coaching staff, of course, a squad of players. Now, another point that I want to mention about Laura Kaminski, I think I've mentioned it before on one of my first uploads about what I felt her coaching and her managing work that she does with her players is I'm not just saying this, I have seen at the beginning of the season the levels of her players, and then come the end of the season, I'm in no doubt that they've all improved their individual levels individually and as a squad. So what I'm trying to say is that any women professional football player that works with Laura Kaminski, when they start with her and when the term ends or when the season ends, they are a better player and all round. So that's got to be down, and that's not a coincidence. That's work that clearly Laura Kaminski has a green tick in my box that I've just seen throughout the season. Another point which I want to mention about Laura Kaminski, I think it's also when the match is on some of the away games and some of the home games last season, when you are watching Laura Kaminski's side and her players on the pitch, how could I put this? Laura Kaminski has a very distinctive sound which is on her touchline, and I suppose if the players have been told to do certain things and the match starts and suddenly they're not delivering hello, she's like, hello, we just talked about it, are you still in the changing room, kind of thing. And when she shouts, she doesn't miss anything on that pitch, but when she does see something that she's not happy about, and rightly so, I remember one time, I think it was the Watford away game, and when she shouted, I went, whoa, and then I was startled, and I was like behind the goals, and even I could hear it from that distance, and I swear I got goosebumps. I was like, whoa. Even I was scared. I was like, oh my days, they're going to get it at half-time if something's not right there. So it's just absolutely reason. The reason I'm pointing that out, Palace TV, they featured a few clips of Laura Kaminski on her touchline, and I think that's brilliant. I love those videos, and I think they're important because it demonstrates that Laura Kaminski is not a coach or a manager to just do everything on her own. She has a coaching staff around her, with her at all times, and they're all tucking in, they're all digging deep. Especially if during the match they're going for a little bit of dip in form, that's when they all work together. And I've loved it when Palace TV have captured a few of those clips, and they've shown it. Go and check out the official webpage at Palace TV. There's plenty of content there on the Palace women. Now, so that's another aspect. I think she does that as a coach and as a manager. She's not just an individual. She has a group of coaching staff with her. Now, the other thing that I want to mention about Laura Kaminski, I think it's important that the connectivity that I feel that Laura Kaminski has with her coaching staff, with the Crystal Palace, the ones that are able to go away and home matches, is absolutely tier one. There is a connectivity there like none other. I'm not just talking about the last day of last season against Sunderland, when Laura Kaminski and a squad of players and her coaching staff, together with Grace Williams, where they picked up that championship trophy and delivered a trophy up there to Steve Parish's office up there. It's not just about those moments, it's about other moments where they can sense that the Palace fans that go to watch them home and away, and I'm just putting my hands up, I didn't go to all the home and away games because if I can't afford it, if I haven't got the time, I'm not a machine, and I'm not very good at multitasking myself anyway, but I do my best to try and go there. But I've noticed that the connectivity that Laura Kaminski and her coaching staff have with the Palace fans is absolutely tier one. And why do I think that's important? It's so important that coaches and managers, when they work at a particular club, they understand the fabrics, the foundations of where the club is now, and where the fans of that prospective club, of course, Crystal Palace women fans, where they want the club to be. It's a light switch. I've mentioned it with Grace Williams earlier on. What Laura Kaminski has also done is flicked on that light, on that lighthouse, and it's telling young women, I expect, in schools, in colleges out there, saying right now, you know what, I think I can go and play for Crystal Palace women. They've switched on that light, and going now into WSL, I think Laura Kaminski is going to increase the brightness on that lighthouse. They're showing a beacon to say, we're here. Do you want to come and watch us? You want to come and play for Crystal Palace women? I think Laura Kaminski is doing that. The other thing which I want to mention is obviously they're going into the WSL campaign now, the Barclays WSL campaign, I should say, and I don't think Laura Kaminski will be daunted. I don't think she'll be scared. I don't think she's that type of coach, and I don't think she has that in her personality. I think from the outside looking in, the way I see the lineups that she puts up, the way the players respond to her, to how I believe she wants them to perform in respect to different opponents, because every opponent is different, is unquestionably it's something that Laura Kaminski can do, in the sense that because now they're going to be up against more established WSL teams, and also experienced players. There's no doubt about that. International players. I'm going to give you one quick example. Last season in the FA Cup, Crystal Palace women went over to the Chelsea women's fans, and lovely day that day. Go and check my videos. I did say a couple of videos with the Chelsea mascots, and I told the Chelsea mascot that at Crystal Palace we have the best mascots in the Premier League, in the WSL. We're going to have the best mascots in the WSL. I also told him last season that we had the best mascots then in the Barclays Championship, and that is Alice and Pete. Crystal Palace have the best mascots, and they're up there, they're in training, they're getting ready for the WSL, for all the women fans from Liverpool, from all the women's fans from Arsenal, all the women's fans from Manchester United, all the women's fans from Chelsea. That's right, I told those mascots from Chelsea. And on that match, going back, I get a bit side-winded. Although I expect Laura Kaminski had important matters, in the sense that they needed to secure the championship, the women's Barclays Championship last season. During that FA Cup game, we lost 1-0. It was a back flick from the Colombian player, Maya. But I saw a player playing for Chelsea that day, which is at the level which when I watch Crystal Palace women and Laura Kaminski's players at, is the levels that I want to see them performing at. There's 3 players that I've always admired, and absolutely amazing talent for the game of women's football, and no particular order. It's Lucy Bronze, Kira Walsh, and Frank Kirby. And that day I saw Frank Kirby come on for Chelsea. If you're a Chelsea fan and you're supporting your Crystal Palace women, so your Chelsea women, if you're a football fan of women's football, if you're a young player looking to come into the sport of women, look at Frank Kirby. If Frank Kirby is not the best, or one of the best ideal person for a young person to look up to, Frank Kirby off the field, with the situations that she's had on the field, the way she's represented both Chelsea and England, a remarkable role model for women's football. And I implore any young woman or any young man, if they want to look at like a role model, go and look and see what Fran Kirby has done both for her club, of course, it's Chelsea, and for England, of course. So for me, when I look at Laura Kaminski's players, I look to see that they're playing to those levels, to those players. I know some people may think they're not at those levels. Well, no. Players like Annabelle Blanchard, Elise Hughes, just to name a few, Hayley Nolan, Amy Everett, I'm just throwing a few names out there. Molly May Sharp, all those, when I see them, when that whistle blows, I'm saying I need to see your performances up with performances of the likes of Lucy Bronze, Kira Walsh and Fran Kirby. That's what I always look to see. Laura Kaminski, I think, pushes those young players, established players and players, any players that come in towards the end of the careers, they keep pushing them to get the results in. Hence why they've got that trophy up there in Steve Parish's office. Now, the last thing that I want to mention about Laura Kaminski, and that is something that's very important. I think what drives, as a football fan, I don't know anyone in the football club, but what drives Laura Kaminski to come in and push those players, working with her coaching staff to achieve things, is, I think it probably stems back from days when she, back in the day, I believe she used to train young boys and young girls in the Hackney Marshes, in all those places. And back in the day, I have to say, I used to play a couple of Sundays up in Highbury Field. If you know about, it's just, I had to do it there. It just showed those Arsenal fans and those Tottenham Hotspur fans how it should be done, and that London is red and blue. But I think what Laura, by coming from those roots, working with a club, she's worked at Tottenham Hotspur, a very well run, in my opinion, from the outside looking in, how they've set up their women's structure. So she's just gained a lot of confidence, a lot of experience there. And it is my opinion, it's just an opinion, that when Laura Kaminski, at the end of last season, with her coaching staff and together with Grace Williams, lifted that, I'm pointed here, not to be rude, that Women's Barclays Championship trophy. Yes, it's important. Yes, the moment is important for the football club. But I think ultimately, what drives Laura Kaminski, that I've noticed, is that I'm in no doubt whatsoever that Laura Kaminski is inspiring that young woman or that young man out there to say, I can play for a manager like that. I want to be a part of that. Laura Kaminski is inspiring the next woman, if you like, to get involved into women's football. And in 15, 16 years' time, they'll probably be interviewed by Sky Sports or by Palace TV, and they'll ask them, what was your first memory of a football game? And they'll say, yeah, I went to watch a game of Crystal Palace, and Laura Kaminski was the manager. I think, undoubtedly, that's what Laura Kaminski is about. It's inspiring the next generation and pushing the current generation of women in the women's football game onwards and upwards. So, what my expectations for Laura Kaminski and her coaching staff? For me, it has to be, as I mentioned in respect to Grace Williams, it has to be survival in the WSL. Hopefully they'll do well. Also, with Laura Kaminski, I don't think she will allow any complacency. The celebrations from last season is done and dusted. I'm going to give you this analogy, and it's a little bit off sidetrack, but please bear with me. I was watching a few months ago Lennox Lewis, the ex-heavyweight, undisputed, unified everything, one of the magnificent sportsmen. And he was mentioning to Anthony Joshua and other people in the table interview that when young boxers are in a status point of view, this is not his words, but this is what he was trying to say, is that when they were in when young boxers are in the amateurs, they get a glass and they fill it up with water to the point where it gets filled. And once they've reached that glass of water is filled up from in the amateurs levels, and then go into the professionals as boxers, you have to empty that cup and then look forward into the new challenge. Now, with that analogy in mind, I hope it makes sense. I think that's what Laura Kaminski has. It's a champion winning mentality. And that is that now they're going to go into the WSL against established teams, more experienced teams. I don't think they'll be phased. I think they've duly earned that place in the Barclays WSL. And also, I believe truly that Laura Kaminski and her coaching staff will push themselves to work even extra harder in pre-season, in pre-matches and on match days, to demonstrate to their opponents, whether it's women's football squad from Liverpool, whether it's the women's squad from Manchester City, women's squad from Arsenal, women's squad from Chelsea, women's squad from the Manchester United squad, that when they come to Selhurst Park, when they face the Crystal Palace women, or when we go up to their places to demonstrate to them that they're not just going to get a match. We're not just there to make up the numbers. We're there for 3 points, or we're there to get into the next round of the cup competition, if that may be the case. And I mean, no doubt that if they don't turn up, that we'll do them over, because we have Laura Kaminski, her coaching staff, her squad of players, and of course we also have Grace Williams up there putting in the foundations. Right now we're in pre-season now, so I'm no doubt that Laura Kaminski will do very well in the WSL. And the first match is against Tottenham Hotspur. Oh my days! I mean, when he got it, it's just had to be. It was written in the stars. I mean, she's worked at Tottenham Hotspur, and I'm sure she still has people there that are well, that they know her well. So it had to be in it. But anyway, so good luck, Laura Kaminski, in the WSL for the 24-25 Barclays WSL campaign. Good luck to yourself and to your coaching staff, and of course your squad of players. Now, the last thing I want to mention is I'm losing all my parcels here. Last thing I want to mention on my video is, yes, Elise Hughes, you're recovering from injury. You're not the only Crystal Palace woman, I expect, recovering from injuries, but yours is a very serious injury. This is not the time no more. I'm sure you're not, but this is not the time for any cheeseburgers or quarter pounders. I know you've been working hard in your in getting better to be available for selection for the team squad, for Laura's side. So keep working hard in your recovery from your injury. I'm in no doubt, I don't speak on behalf of anyone, but I'm in no doubt that every Crystal Palace fan that has watched you perform and work hard for the Crystal Palace women's team, I am in no doubt that any football fan that has watched you play for your beloved Wales, they have been, they are, and they'll always be in your corner. So Elise Hughes, keep working hard in your recovery, and I cannot wait to hear the great news that Laura Kaminski has been informed that you are then available for team selection. And so Elise Hughes, stay strong, keep working at it, and just keep moving forward, and you're not alone in your recovery, definitely. Right, last of all, just want to be clear, I have nothing to do with the football club, just a football fan, just like you. If you want to know the correct information about Crystal Palace, hold on a minute, let me just get this so you can see, so I'll get it right. Go to that webpage. Just want to be clear, the reason why I'm doing this is because if I tell or forward information, I may say it wrong. So if you want to know anything about the schedules or merchandise of Crystal Palace women, please call the box office. They'll give you hands or on match days for the men's game. Just ask the staff, they'll help you out, I mean, no doubt. And also I want to say that last of all, if you're new to my channel, Diego C Palace, please hit a like and subscribe. I'm trying to get to 2,000 subscribers, but with your help, hopefully I'll get there. So thank you very much for watching, and Laura Kaminski, your coaching staff, Grace Williams, and your entire staff at Crystal Palace, congratulations for landing that trophy at Steve Paris's office up there. I want to hear at the end of the 24-25 season a rumour going around that Steve Parish has had to get online and he's had to order a bigger trophy cabinet because Laura Kaminski and Grace Williams just keep landing the trophies. So come on, Palace, up the Palace. Crystal Palace women, good luck in pre-season, and bring on the Barclays WSL. Thank you for watching. Come on, Palace.